Hi, Shane here. You're watching Sam for God, and this is Mark. Check her out.
So hello everyone, how's life? Welcome to another one of my videos. If this is your first time watching my videos and you like Disney, maybe subscribe. I make a lot of videos about Disney. Anyway, in today's video I want to talk about some Disneyland Paris attractions that were meant to happen once upon a time and yet they never did. I think this might be quite an interesting topic because a lot of people forget how many great plans were there for Disneyland Paris to begin with that just never came to be, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong, I obviously love Disneyland Paris as it is, but yeah, we're gonna go down memory lane a little bit and look back at some of the potential attractions that were meant to happen at Disneyland Paris and sadly never did. To start off, we are going to look at this original map of Disneyland Paris that up until a few years ago could actually be found in some of the shops in the park as well. But yeah, on this beautiful map of Disneyland Paris from back in 1992, there are a few attractions that just never made it into an actual attraction. And the first one we're going to talk about is the Little Mermaid ride. So the Little Mermaid ride, if you don't know, is an attraction that is present in Disneyland California as well as Walt Disney World in Magic Kingdom. I love it. It's one of my favorite attractions, and believe it or not, Disneyland Paris was meant to get this attraction as well. In fact, as early as 1992, when the parks first opened, Disney already had plans to make this attraction happen in Disneyland Paris, because as you might be able to see on the map, they even had its location figured out completely. It was meant to be right next to It's a Small World. So if you know the parade route, there's this little bit close to It's a Small World where it's currently like a backstage area, and the parade normally starts from there, and sometimes it ends there as well. It's quite a big space. Like, I've often wondered why there's not a lot going on there. It looks a bit empty, like it does always look like there needs to be something else there. As I said, they mainly use that area for backstage purposes now when you can't actually walk around it too much, but yeah, that is where they were hoping to put the Little Mermaid ride, and I think it would have been a perfect location for it, you know, in Fantasyland, right next to all the other phenomenal rides like It's a Small World. It would have just made sense. But yeah, unfortunately it never happened, and later on, I think in 2011 or 12, this attraction that was originally meant to happen in Disneyland Paris actually opened in Disneyland California and also in Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. So those two parks in America got it, and yet Disneyland Paris never got it. Sad times. The reason for this is probably because of money issues. Like, Disneyland Paris didn't have the biggest budget when they first opened. In fact, Disneyland Paris had a lot of problems in its first few years. I can make a video about that as well in the future if you want me to. But yeah, because of the fact that they were having some issues with money, they had to cut back on some of the projects that they had originally planned for Disneyland Paris, like the Little Mermaid ride. It is a shame. Like I said, I feel like it would have made sense to have it there, and it's one of my favorite attractions in the American parks. I don't know, I mean, the space is still there obviously, so maybe one day we'll get this ride or something else in that location right next to Small World, but at the moment, unfortunately, it's just a blank space. Characters actually do a lot of meet and greets normally in that area because it's just a wide space with nothing in it, so it's a nice space for them to just come out and meet guests and take photos with them pre-COVID. But yeah, that is the first ride, and if you've been to Disney World and California, you would have seen what this ride is like. But basically, it's a dark ride. You sit in these like shell situations and you go under the sea on a journey, and you find out about the Little Mermaid story, obviously Ariel, and the animatronics on this ride are so good. I really enjoy the songs as well. Obviously, Little Mermaid has such a fantastic soundtrack that it's just fun to like listen to it as you're on that ride, seeing Ariel dance about. And Ursula looks amazing. Sebastian has his bit as well on this ride. Honestly, it's so much fun. I'm really gutted that Disneyland Paris never got it, but oh well, what can we do? The next ride that Disneyland Paris was originally meant to get and it never got was also a ride that was meant to happen in Fantasyland, and this one was actually meant to be based on Beauty and the Beast. And again, you can actually see traces of this attraction on the very first original map of Disneyland Paris. This was meant to be somewhere around Auberge de Cendrillon in Fantasyland, so closer to like the main parts of Fantasyland, if that makes sense, with the carousel and everything. And yeah, I'm guessing because The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast were some of the recent films of Disney at the time. By the time Disneyland Paris opened in 1992, those two were very, very big, and Disneyland Paris had plans to make these into rides and have them there. And yeah, with this one, it's interesting because nothing really came of it. Again, because of budget reasons, they couldn't build this in Disneyland Paris, but it also never went anywhere else either. I mean, Disney World has the Beauty and the Beast stage show, but that's not an attraction. This was meant to be something different. It was probably meant to be something similar to the Little Mermaid ride, a dark ride, I would presume, with animatronics and everything. And fun fact, the closest any of the parks have gotten to getting an attraction of this sort is actually Tokyo Disneyland, which finally opened its doors to this new Beauty and the Beast land that they've been creating for the past few years. Last year they opened this, and obviously I've not been to Tokyo Disney yet, so I don't know what it looks like in person, but from photos and some videos that I've seen, it does look phenomenal. I'm sure they probably went from the original concept that they had for Disneyland Paris and they've probably built on it, made it even better. Obviously technology has grown so much in the past like 30 years. There's a lot more that they could have done. I mean, the animatronics from videos that I've seen in Tokyo Disneyland for this ride look amazing, phenomenal, closer to what we see in Frozen, the ride in Epcot, than the classic animatronics that we know. I'm happy. I cannot wait to ride this ride hopefully one day when I get to visit Tokyo Disneyland. But again, it's one of those really sad things that I wonder what it would have been like if we had an attraction dedicated to Beauty and the Beast in our park, you know, in my home park, in my favorite park in Disneyland Paris. Money. It literally controls everything. The next attraction that Disneyland Paris was meant to get and never did is actually located in Adventureland, and again you can see a little sign of this on the original map of Disneyland Paris. This was meant to be Disneyland Paris's version of the Jungle Cruise, and they even had a name for it. It was meant to be called La Jungle Unexplored, which basically means the unexplored jungle, and whilst it was meant to have some similarities to the classic Jungle Cruise rides that we know of in Disneyland and in Magic Kingdom, this was actually meant to take guests on an adventure in a jeep rather than a boat, which is a really cool concept. I think actually it was meant to be closer to what the Indiana Jones ride became in California than the typical Jungle Cruise rides that we know of, because by that point, again, don't forget, by the time Disneyland Paris opened in 1992, technology had already advanced. Jungle Cruise was already kind of outdated in the minds of the Imagineers. They wanted to do something better and cooler with Disneyland Paris's attractions, and their idea, their vision for this ride was to have this like giant temple-like area where the jeeps would go into, and like it would be half speedy, like half fast, and at bits it wouldn't be too fast. Some of it was meant to be outdoors, some of it was meant to be indoors. From what I've read, they were meant to have bits where they played songs from the Jungle Book, but also, as I said, bits that were meant to be really fast and thrilling. You were meant to be seeing like animals around, and yeah, I mean, I genuinely wish this had happened. Of all the attractions that Disneyland Paris was meant to get, this is the one that I'm most sad we never got, because let's face it, the aerial ride, okay, we didn't get it, but the American parks got it, so that's fine. The Beauty and the Beast ride, again, I'm not even a big Beauty and the Beast fan, but also Tokyo Disneyland smashed it with what they've done with it, so that's also fine. But this ride, the Unexplored Jungle, never really happened anywhere, at least not in this particular way that it was meant to for Disneyland Paris, and I think it would have been such a cool ride. Again, the main reason for this is that they just didn't have the budget for it. It would have cost a hell of a lot, and yeah, they just couldn't at the time, unfortunately, and instead they actually made Indiana Jones and the Temple of Peril, the roller coaster in Disneyland Paris, which cost a lot less, because building a roller coaster, like just a track outdoors, obviously wasn't going to cost as much as building like a whole temple big area that's like half indoors, half outdoors, with jeeps and everything. The jeeps themselves would have cost a lot of money. So yeah, unfortunately we never got what we were meant to get, but we got a roller coaster still, which is fine. Such a shame though, because that part of Adventureland actually has a lot of space as well. It's a big area. Adventureland Disneyland Paris just generally is huge in my opinion, and they definitely could have fit it there. They just didn't because of money issues. I'm going to be saying this word a lot in this video. And then we get to the last attraction that was meant to happen in Disneyland Paris, and again, these are all things that you can spot in the map in a section called Attractions Futures, which means future attractions. So it was very obvious that Disneyland Paris was definitely planning these, which just honestly breaks my heart. But anyway, this last one is actually a lot more complicated to explain than the other ones, because this one was meant to be a whole project, like a series of attractions that was meant to happen in Discoveryland in Disneyland Paris. So before they built Space Mountain in Disneyland Paris, the Imagineers had this big vision to make Discoveryland a huge special thing. Like their idea with this whole Jules Verne steampunk vibe was what they really wanted this area of the park to be. So initially this whole area was meant to be called Discovery Mountain, which is really interesting because you can actually still see little bits of this left. So if you go to Space Mountain, there's a bit where you can see the letters DM, which stands for Discovery Mountain, not Space Mountain as we know it now, because as I said, the project was meant to be so much bigger than just Space Mountain. There was meant to be a restaurant there completely dedicated to that whole theme of steampunk and like being underground and that whole vibe, which never happened, which is a shame. They also had a lot of other attractions planned as well, including one that was meant to be a dark ride that would take guests into like the future, and this kind of inspired the ride Horizons, which was something that was presented at Epcot a few years later, I believe. The whole theming in Discoveryland was also meant to be a lot more extravagant. Space Mountain itself was meant to be a lot bigger than what it actually ended up being. It was meant to be this huge volcanoes everywhere. Like I said, it was meant to be this whole big area just all dedicated to one particular theme of it being this kind of steampunk vibe. And yeah, again, as always, we've said it many times, because of money issues, they had to downscale their plans for the project, unfortunately, which resulted in us only getting Space Mountain instead of that bigger, more extreme, extra Space Mountain that they had originally imagined, which was probably actually going to be called Discovery Mountain instead, I don't know, as well as all the other extra little attractions that they had planned. We didn't get any of those either, but we did get Nautilus, the walkthrough attraction. So of all the big plans that they had for this project, Discovery Mountain, the only two that were left for Disneyland Paris ended up being Space Mountain, of course, and the Nautilus walkthrough attraction, which are both good. I mean, Space Mountain is fantastic in Disneyland Paris and the walkthrough attraction is alright, but it's a shame because I feel like it could have been so much better and bigger in Discoveryland, especially with the rest restaurant that they had planned as well. The interesting thing is that, again, as always, the Imagineers' plans and ideas didn't just end up going to waste, because Tokyo Disney Sea was in the process of being built at the time, so these ideas ended up being transferred over to Tokyo Disney Sea, which is a park that I've heard incredible things about and I've watched a lot of vlogs on, and I cannot wait to visit one day. But yes, Disney Sea has this area which is very similar to what Discoveryland was meant to look like. Very much steampunk vibe. They have 2 rides dedicated to Jules Verne, like one of them is called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I think the other one is like Journey into the Earth or something like that. But yeah, they have a lot of volcanoes. They've got this whole lagoon. The theming in that area of Disney Sea looks phenomenal. As I said, I've not been there myself personally, so I can't comment on it, but from what I've seen in photos and videos, it does look fantastic. And it's just weird when you think about it, because it almost feels like part of this big idea ended up in Disneyland Paris, and then the second half of it ended up in another park on the other side of the world. And if Disneyland Paris had the money initially to do everything together, we would have had all of that in Disneyland Paris, and it could have all been in one place, and it would have been magical. But I don't actually mind, because like I said, Tokyo Disney Sea looks amazing, and I cannot wait to visit it and go on all these attractions one day. And I'm really happy with what we do have in Discoveryland, Disneyland Paris as well. Like, I don't hate Discoveryland. I think it's one of the best Discoverylands ever. In fact, it's the only Discoveryland, but you know what I mean. Comparing Discoveryland to Tomorrowlands around the world, I think Discoveryland in Paris definitely wins in terms of how beautiful it looks and how inviting and cool, and just, I don't know, I love the whole steampunk vibe. But yeah, that is basically it. These are some of the attractions that were meant to happen in Disneyland Paris based on Disneyland Paris's original map. So we all know that they definitely did have plans to make these happen. They just had to forget about the plans once they realized they didn't have enough money. And I think once we got closer to like the year 2000 as well, when Walt Disney Studios was about to open, they were put under even more pressure in terms of money, because they definitely just didn't have enough money, and yet they were meant to be opening this park. And that's another topic altogether. If you want me to, again, I can make a video all about Walt Disney Studios and all the problems that Disneyland Paris was facing before they opened that park. A lot of them, as I said, spoiler, is related to money. But I don't know, you might find it interesting, so I'm happy to do more videos on Disneyland Paris's history. Just let me know in the comments down below if you're enjoying these. Give this video a like as well, and share it if you want. It just gives me an idea of how much people are enjoying these videos. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below which of these 4 attractions you're most gutted about never getting in Disneyland Paris. As I said, for me, I think it's the unexplored jungle in Adventureland. I just think the idea of it sounds so cool, and I've been lucky enough to have gone on the Indiana Jones ride in California, and I absolutely love it. So I feel like if they'd done something similar to that in Disneyland Paris, and don't forget, they had plans to make this ride in Disneyland Paris before Indiana Jones even opened in Disneyland California. So yeah, they were ambitious, they had all these ideas, they unfortunately just never got to do them because of what? Money. Money, unfortunately, is important in life. But yeah, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram if you want to, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!